This is Tara Carr, Tara Talks, KDIV 98.7 FM. I am here with Joey Daniels and interviewed, thanks for being here, Joey. No interviewed Joey about a year ago, actually, just over a year ago. So if you're in the Northwest Arkansas area, you will hear and see the bikes. The bikes are here. School's back in session. It's almost time for the leaves to change. Today's the official first day of autumn or fall, whatever you want to call it. And that means it's time for Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, which is a Northwest Arkansas tradition for the last 17 years. So last year we met to talk about a petition that you started. You want to refresh our memory on that?
Right. So we put together a petition because with the climate of America, especially after Dylan Ruth in South Carolina went and shot up the churchgoers in Charleston, South Carolina, and they had the big push of bringing down the Confederate flag in South Carolina at the state capitol. There was a big uproar in Fayetteville in Northwest Arkansas, where a lot of people would actually fly the Confederate flag up and down 49. And that really caused a stir. And that year, Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, they had like a really large climate where it didn't feel welcoming for people of color, black people. And I felt there was a need to do something, and I didn't know what to do. So even after going out to local officials, asking people what we can do, this whole piece on First Amendment always kind of came up. So it was really nothing that anyone could do. So the idea of a petition kind of came from that, really because everything else was handcuffed and locked down. So the petition actually kind of catered to that, and it actually drew a lot of traction. So we were able to get a lot of media attention. We were able to kind of leverage the attention of people all throughout Northwest Arkansas in general, even hit Memphis. And we actually were able to reach our goal. Our goal was 1,000 signatures. We ended up getting 1,158 was the final count. And but it was huge. I mean, it was a big deal for us to be able to make a statement of that magnitude. And things are even popping off now that are allowing us to see the fruits of our labor.
So now the reason we've come back together to sit down and chat about this again is because the announcement came out that Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue has decided to ban the sales of the Confederate flag merchandise by official vendors. So how does that feel to you? Is that a success story to you? Is this accomplishment in your eyes?
I mean, you know, the fact that this conversation is still relevant a year later, when we haven't done any actual plan of action to meet any kind of needs or goals for this year. The fact that what we did last year was able to kind of carry over to the consciousness of this year. Unfortunately, you have Charlottesville that also takes a turn to allow people who don't think there's an issue with race relations in this country, especially that things that stem around symbols and things that are symbolic. It was interesting to be able to have that happen in close proximity with the planning and everybody getting ready for Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue. So the fact that there has been statements that deal with the fact that we have to ring in what we allow in our streets and what we allow to take place in our social settings, in order for people to feel like they're welcomed. I think that was a good first step for Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, I guess as a nonprofit. And I guess what makes it even more special is the fact that because they made such efforts this year, even though some may think that it's small, the fact that they made a step allows us to know that they are open to more conversation, open to more dialogue about figuring out what other policies and practices we can ensure, so that the actual heart of the program is not lost, which is raising money for charity. But we can do so in a manner that's respectable for Fayetteville, Arkansas, for Northwest Arkansas, and so people who live here don't feel like they have to escape for a weekend, but still feel like they can be involved in making our community stronger, our community better.
Absolutely. So just tell me, when you see the flag, how does it make you feel? What does it represent to you? And then also, what do you say to the people who just say, it's just Southern pride?
Yeah, it's weird. So I guess when I first got down here, I wasn't used to seeing it on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. So everything was real raw emotions when I first got here.
So where'd you move here from?
So I'm from Silver Spring, Maryland. Mm-hmm. I went to school at North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So I came up here in 2013 for graduate school at the U of A, and it just didn't. It wasn't something that I saw regularly. Yeah. I mean to the point where I went home every day and people had it on their license plate, bumper stickers and stuff in their windows, everything. So I mean, like the first couple years here, I was just like, man, this is crazy. Like how people can have this, and then you have everything going on in society with the verdict of Trayvon Martin right before I get here, mm-hmm. through Michael Brown, through Eric Garner, through Charleston, and you have all these different things going on leading up to it. Like you kind of normalize the fact that this flag is always around you, and you kind of normalize the fact that this is a symbol for many that represents hatred, but then there's others that have this piece that it represents a sense of heritage,
right? Which
is fine, but in order to appreciate the heritage, you have to understand what the heritage symbolizes. Yeah. And the heritage symbolizes a time in which owning people, in which owning bodies was acceptable, in many people's eyes, and rape and abuse and killing and lynching, those were all things that were a part of the heritage. Yeah. So when you fly the flag, understand that you can fly it for your great great uncle or your great great grandfather, but you fly it for them same individuals who killed, who raped, who mistreated, who oppressed a group of people. Yeah. And if you don't fly it for the fact of the matter that if you flying it but you don't consider that, mm-hmm. then you're now not allowing yourself to be fully educated, and you're now ignorant to the fact that of why people feel the way that they feel.
Absolutely. So banning the sale of the Confederate flag, mm-hmm. Merchandise does not prohibit people from just wearing the Confederate flag on a shirt or something like that, a bandana, if you will. Is that correct? No. That wasn't seen as something that was a part of what was happening this year. And it's not something that needs to happen. If that's where you are in your lifestyle and your walk, and that's what you represent, then by all means represent. I'm not here to tell you can't do it. I just think that in the process of trying to actually educate people, mm-hmm. on what needs to happen, understand that when you see tension from other groups, from Black Lives Matter, from Antifa, it's not because that symbol only shows pride. That symbol shows more than pride. Yeah. And if you really understand the history of how the flags were brought up, how all the statues were brought up, and when they were brought up, right, and how the actual distance between Civil War and Jim Crow, if you look mm-hmm. at the history of all that stuff, you'll begin to understand. But it takes two sides. It takes a side willing to be educated, and it takes people who are actually willing to sit down and break bread and have those conversations. Absolutely. So who all was involved in working on this petition?
So I co-authored it with Dr. Angela Courage. The two of us worked together hard last year on getting the word out through the radio, through websites, on TV, through newspapers, and then I work with the Graduate Student Congress and the Associated Student Government on campus to have a resolution in which the student body would support people who felt as though they weren't being represented to be able to be at this community event. And then certain things happened that was great to be able to actually see the reaction from people, which sides they were on, and how you come to the table and have those conversations. But I mean, there's too many people to actually try to name. who helped out, and I don't want to name anybody in particular besides Dr. Angela Courage, as she was on the petition with me. But we had a small group who came together, a small group of my peers who came together and actually helped author the petition.
Yeah.
And they actually put in a lot of good work, especially at the beginning, in trying to get things set. So
that's awesome.
Very fortunate that they did all that work.
That's awesome. Well, kudos to you and everyone involved. So now that this ban is in place, do you think that people of color will feel more comfortable attending this event? I know a lot of people say, I just want to get a turkey leg. I just want to go get all this great barbecue.
Yeah, me too. And like a little elephant ear and a funnel cake. I think it takes steps, and I think our whole strategy was to do something that was going to be able to foster that communication throughout Fayetteville. So I think right now, as we begin to move and groove throughout our community, I think we need to start taking leaps of faith to start networking and having these conversations with groups that we don't necessarily agree with, so that we can figure out where we are within our social construct, to be able to have these conversations, to grow. Because at the end of the day, we're put here to love each other.
Absolutely.
And if you can't love each other and do things the right way, then it's going to be hard to really grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Joe, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Man, so I've been like CNN'd out and MSNBC'd out, and I actually watch Fox News just to kind of get the other perspective.
There you go, you got to.
But it's just amazing. I remember one time I watched, this is right after Charlottesville, and I watched Andrew Young on CNN because he had put out something saying that he doesn't believe in people taking down the statues. So he came on and he actually kind of justified what he really meant, and he was saying, I'm a substance guy. I'm not about symbols. I'm about substance.
Wow.
So while everybody else is so focused on tearing down and taking down these statues, I'm focused on a person who lives down the street, who can't pay for rent next month, or who doesn't have enough clothes for their kids, or whose health insurance
the community
is not where it needs to be. So the fact that he went from saying that he's a substance guy, he cares about symbols for when the timing is right to care about them, but he's all about substance. And I took that into mind. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, we can spend so much time discussing a flag that means so little at this stage of the game, in comparison.
Comparatively,
in comparison to all the other issues we have in community with DACA, with people's education right now. And the one thing I want to shine light on, as my last year in my graduate school program, is really pushing out this agenda to build a hurricane relief effort here in Fayetteville, because we have people who are in need now.
Yeah.
Even people who we've already forgotten about from Hurricane Harvey.
Yeah.
They're in need now.
Yeah.
People who don't have socks, people who still need diapers for their kids. So, we're at that point. So that's kind of really what I'm pushing now, trying to do more substance than symbols, because at the end of the day, a symbol can fly, but if you don't have any food to eat, you might die. So that's where I'm at.
That's a great place to end. I'm just going to leave it there.
All right.
Joey, thank you so much for your time coming back in the studio. We're so happy to have you. This is Tara Carr, Tara Talks, KDIV 98.7 FM, the voice of diversity, the voice of the city.